all the participants to mute their mic and videos except the first person. Now, I invite our first speaker, Dr. Ramani sir, to take over the session. Ramani sir.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Ashok sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I extend my thanks to all for providing a very good golden opportunity for me to share the news and views in connection with the leadership which is connected with the COVID-19, which was frequently disturbing us, not only our community, but also the economy of the world. First, let us discuss where are we. See the table. I am just enumerating 9 countries along with the population, cases, cured and death. And I am comparing India as against the well-developed, economically developed countries, US, Brazil, Germany, Belgium and UK. And I see the cases and the death particulars along with the red line, that is India is red marked here. And another thing, I compare India versus the worstly hit countries, US, Brazil, Russia, Peru, Chile, Mexico and others. See the table. The table in the sense, so for very first, I compare the India, the rest of the countries, what I told earlier, the 11 countries, with reference to population and with reference to the density of people and with reference to holding number of cases, COVID cases and death. And here, though the populated area, that is the 11 countries, has equally populated as against India, but the number of cases hold, when compared with the number of cases hold in the sense, 8 times more than India. And the other thing, the number of death, that is 14 times when compared with the India. So it shows that how progress in curbing the diseases and formulating that is so suitable course of action to meet the COVID-19. The yesterday figure, as far as Tamil Nadu concerned, total number of cases, that is total infected cases 2.27 lakhs as far as Tamil Nadu, and the total cured 1.66 lakhs, and cured in the sense, that is 57,000, and so far death 6.6k. Yesterday death accounted for 88. Totally testing conducted 23, nearly 24 lakhs. So when you see the mortality rates, it seems to be, as far as India concerned, 2.25%. Tamil Nadu accounts for only 1.6%. So we are safe. Don't panic. But we do have MNC, multinational corporation India, roughly more than 40,000 and 2.5 lakhs overseas affiliates in India. And another one of the important, the concern, not concern, the peculiarity in population characteristics is nearly 10% of the total populations are from elderly. Why I am quoting here is because those type of the group of the populations are more susceptible are risky population and also more prone to develop infections because they have more comorbidity diseases such as lungs problems and cancer, diabetic, cardiac, asthma and others which are more prone to get infection. Coming to next one, the leader. A leader, who is a leader? A leader is a person who can see how things can be improved and also who rallies people to move toward that better vision. A leader is a person who initiates and he is an eye opener for several things and who influences and also instruct, inspire the followers to behave in such a way to attain a desired end. In this image, see the real leaders. The leaders are several things. In theoretical aspect, in management theory, suggest several the leaders, autocratic leaders, democratic leaders, and free reign leaders, and paternalistic leader, transaction leader, transformation leader. Several leadership styles are discussed in our academic. But in the common area, the common man, they distinguish the leader in different ways. The teacher leader, student leader, social leader, community leader, religion leader, political leader, etc., etc. But what actually the leader, real leaders are, see the image. The police personnel, that is, they are from Delhi. They are the real initiators, the COVID beaters, turned lifesavers. They donate plasma to several thousands of coronavirus patients. They set an example for others. Next one, the bureaucrat leader. Bureaucrat leader is also a person. The image is taken from the government Corona hospital in Guindy, where Dr. Radhakrishnan, health secretary, who is famous for disaster and also facing several issues, even Nagapatnam cyclone and Kumbakonam fire accident, school fire accident, and also Chennai 2015 flood. So he is termed as a disaster and risk facilities. 1 week or 10 days back, his wife, son, father-in-law, mother-in-law, and other family members tested positive, but except himself, and he admitted in the government hospitals. For information, the other high profiles, ministers, MLAs are not in that case, as they find only in the private setup. So he set an example for encouraging the people, and they got discharged yesterday, and the photos taken from during the course of discharge. And another, the image, the Kerala, a elderly couple beats the COVID-19 in an achievement in its battle against the COVID-19 pandemic. The Thomas, aged 93, and Mariamma, aged 88, admitted along with the family members and contracted as a result of the son who is returned from Italy, and completely cured after taking 14 days treatment at the Kottayam Medical College Hospital, and they are termed as the brand ambassador, and that is setting a trend, and the myth buster against age is just a number. The age, though it is contracted the more prone to develop the symptoms, but the high mental courage and even cooperation, adherence, medical adherence leads the curation. And another thing, leader as a change agent. How? Now the world is experiencing a historic pandemic CVD, that is COVID-19, and its impact is visible across the globe. The stock market is sloping down and made to enter into recession. The business are shattering down to just like playing cards. The business are at stake. Educational institutions are shut. People have taken their work at home. The lockdown has been affecting everyone differently. So, at this situation, what is the role of a leader? The very important role in the sense to create awareness, to raise awareness, and to communicate effectively. Effectively in the sense how the COVID-19 virus is originated, what are the ways and means available to curb the infection, to disseminate the actual information, the messages, and to narrate the importance of SMS, and to break the chain, and to adopt the procedure, whatever it is, whenever, wherever the government of India health department formulate the policy. So these are some role part played by a leader of a company or an organization or even family, etc., etc. Next, one of the important point we need to know, the leader of the organization, they have to follow the SMS. S is nothing but sanitizing and using the soap, hand washing. Second, M for mask. Wearing the mask is an art and science. You just hold or touch your hand only on the loop, ear loop. Don't touch in the middle of the mask. Another thing, do not bring down your mask to the chain. See the chart. Break the chain. Break the chain in the sense, say the red man and the black man. The red man is approached by two black men. It has him having contact, much more contact. When get contacted, they just the other person have got infected, and in the down space, the down image, the one person is not, that is not contacting with the infected person. So he and his contacts have got saved as against the other person. So the government wants to break the chain by means of adopting 144 lockdown or curfew, etc., etc. The vital importance of the social distancing. Here, a normal behavior, a person with a normal behavior can infect in 5 days 2.5 people, in 30 days 406 people. 50% of less contact, one person infects 1.25 people in 5 days. In 30 days, he may contract 15 people. 75% less contact, one person infects 0.625 people as against 30 days 2.5 people. So the keeping the social distancing 6 feet is very much essential. See this flattening the curve. Up to the few months ago, The words "a flattening curve" did not mean anything. The people other than the medical field, the person from medical field like me. Now it is an often repeated in the social media to encourage people to practice social distancing and instructed to stay home. So in the graph, in the red line that is red marked areas in the sense without protective measures. The green shadow shows that with the protective measures, in between a lines, it indicates the healthcare system capacity, the provisions made, infrastructure, doctor and nurses, they are having within the system. But we just want to prolong by means of implementing the lockdown and other procedure, so that we are able to now attain two type of goals. Number one, the infection rate is reduced and also prolonged for some time, and within that time the organization, the medical department, exercise are having some opportunity to increase it, support our infrastructure to meet the challenges. For information, what we are having now, WHO standard, that is as per WHO standard, one doctor for 1,000 people. But for Tamil Nadu, we have only one doctor for 10,000 people. India, 11,000 people. Nurses, that is for 10,000 people, 21 nurses. But we are having 21,000 nurses for 10,000 people. That is 2.1 for 1,000. But it requires 1 to 1, 1 to 10. For 1 to 1 in the sense ICCU, intensive critical care unit. 110 in the sense that is for normal ward. Number of beds, we have only 7,13,986 beds. ICU beds only 35,000 and odd. So within the short span of this work, the workforce, it is not possible for any government to meet the challenges given by any pandemic diseases. So what should we do at this condition? In the pandemic education situation, most of the education institutions are turned as a temporary hospitals and quarantine centers. As you know, for information, even Anna University has 2,100 beds. Satyabama, IIT, 1,800 beds. And St. Joseph College and other colleges, DG Vaishnav colleges, even Javagar Engineering colleges in Chennai, they are having the higher education institutions turned to be an hospitals because to meet the disaster. And regarding the risk, in the sense, here the very first, the opening the tabal in the organization, low risk. Pumping the gasoline, low risk. Shopping the moderate to shopping, in the sense shopping to get the essential commodities from the shoppers, moderate to low risk. Sitting in the doctors or any person in the waiting room, moderate to low risk. Working in a week in an office building, that is the public crowded offices, bank and other institutions, moderate risk. Going to hair salon or barber shop, moderate to high risk. This is also one typical examples that is taken recently. The Thailand woman, 100 years old, beats COVID-19. For her, age is just a number. See, this type of that, we are not taking any sort of blood. We are just taking the oral fluid and throat fluid, and the virus get enter into this one. First, the trachea, oral and nasal. The nasal it reaches the trachea, and it reaches the other areas, lungs, which creates some sort of troubles. And the person who is sneezing, the person coughing. See, to get infection, the medical science narrates it in a person needs the 1000 viral particles, VP. During breathing, 20 viral it exhibits 20 viral particles, VP. Sweeping, 200 VPs. Coughing, 20 crores VP. And sneezing, 20 crores VP. And the probability of contagion. The probability of contagion in the sense, here, see this one. Here, the both persons not wearing their mask. So the chances are very high. One person wear the mask, other person not, and it leads to high. And the person who is coughing wear the mask, others not, that is medium. Both persons low, and both person wearing the mask, keeping the 6 feet distances, very low. And within the home, no infection. That is why we are insisting the people be in the home. In Tamil, we are saying, Veetiliru. Tell them. The leader role is tell their employees and other followers. SMS is the only available solution. As a leader, he has to perform several work. Let us discuss one by one. First, focus on the door-to-door health and safety of the employees. The very first, here, the health and safety are the very important, that is paramount. This means in-facility safeguards are given, including masks, hand sanitizers, employee thermal scanning, social distancing, regular and aggressive cleaning schedules for building and facilities. But employees could equally be at risk when they commute or eat lunch or meet clients. So anticipate, respond, proactivity to such risk. Here, ensure social distancing in offices. Reduce hard desking. Restrict the number of people allowed in meeting rooms and shared areas like kitchens and cafeterias, and re-evaluate the floor plans and accommodate the social distancing. And another thing, the government of Tamil Nadu gives some sort of instruction for running the office. 50% of the employees by rotation basis alternate their schedules to reduce congestion, to put makers on floors and desks to remind and ensure physical distancing. And distance assembly line workers. Manufacturing industries, they are analyzing work sequences or work mode to find ways to distance assembly line workers, allocating more time between shifts and reducing expectation for production, because it takes longer people to move around at a safer distance. And another thing, provide transport alternatives. The big company provide alternative, that is a transport instead of using the public transport. Already the public transport is off, but they are having their own traffic, that is transport off. With the following, the employees can avoid, and that is the rush, and they limited number of riders, the commuters. But what actually happened in the case of when the southern districts, the public transport are opened for operation. The photos are taken from the that is Tirunelveli and also Thoothukudi. it shows that, of course, we do agree with the person, the commuters are wearing the mask. Are they maintaining the social distancing, establishing themselves? That is what we termed as Tamil, tiny money, the idea, they are not following. So that the only one reason which made increase in the case in southern districts are the transportation and the Coimbatore effect. So still now, the employees from Thoothukudi is increasing the rise of infection because they are not adhering the instructions. So concerned manager or the manufacturer, they should show and the concern towards the employees' welfare and others. Second, the leverage employee data to plan the reopening the facilities. See, the very important point you need to know, the employee data, conduct health and safety checks at the entry. It's also very important. And use your data to inform your plans on quarantines and employee support. The wide range of data is available to pull from, including employee health metrics in connection with the diabetic or having some comorbidity diseases, and also location, the travel history, commute operation, that is options, family composition, and the dependents such as the presence of senior citizen or school-going children, and recent interactions with the COVID patients. So collect the data. And another thing, measure and monitor the employee engagement levels, mindset, and the level of comfort regarding the return to the workplace, and continue to monitor once employees have returned. And next one, stagger the workforce return. The very first, most organization use a lean on workforce analysis from your that is organization, human resource, pandemic plans, which should have formally segmented employees according to their roles, according to their backgrounds, according to their mode of work, according to their skill sets, and the ability to work remotely. Use sales insights to sequence the phase of the return and make employees more comfortable. Some leading professional services, they reintroduced its leadership team first to signal to other employees that they believed it was safe to return. I quote one incident, or what actually in the case of the North Indian laborers or employees are now they slowly return to India, Tamil Nadu, because of having or they believed that it was now safe to return. And one of the international auto company in China, the HR human resource manager began its planning by asking those employees who were willing to return and had no health risk. Such checks help returning employees feel more confident that the workplace is safe and maintain frequent two-way communication. We recommend solicit the employee feedback. The employee feedback is very much essential. One company surveyed employees a month after they began returning to the workplace to ask how they felt about the level of safety, the return experience, and the organization's success in mitigating risk and protecting employees. It also encourages employees to share improved ideas. So on the basis of the ideas from the employees' feedback, the future or the monitoring programs are fine-tuned to get better result. Next, be open to various communication channels. Leverage informal communication channels popular among employees to make it easy for them to ask questions and raise concern regarding safety and security. Next, observe lockdown success into your best practices. This most of the leader are keen on this issue because first update the best practices. Here, the lockdown have forced workplaces and workforces to adapt and evolve. Here, see this one. In order to maintain the social distancing. Next, give autonomy to local HR teams. Freedom. The freedom in the sense this is very important. That is, give full freedom in decision making to local HR teams. So many regional and business unit HR leaders in Asia say this type of authority has helped them through the issue, the pandemic issue or crisis, to keep employees safer because the local HR teams can respond to local outbreak conditions, responds more swiftly to specific needs of local employees and build employees' trust in managers and vice versa. Make appropriate redeployment, hiring the employees and other decisions to respond to demands from regional, local business leaders. And the topmost the challenges faced by the managers due to the COVID-19 outbreak. Number one, the very first, mental health and well-being. It's a very good challenges. The sudden shift in work culture, changing the phenomenon, reducing the number of workforces, or hearing the news through the electronic media and print media about the diseases, took a toll on overall employee health and well-being. Stress, anxiety, and other mental health issues have always been there, and it is no a new story because always the employees stuffed with several programs or as a result in facing some mental health issues. So the organization, the leader role is to initiate wellness programs and providing employees with the security health benefits and flexibility to help them overcome their health issues. Next, managing the remote work. The managing the remote work in the sense the transition to remote work culture is not as seamless as it seems. Before the COVID-19 outbreak, less than 50% of the companies had a remote work program. For example, banks, regulated industries, and many financial service companies did not encourage remote working because it is not possible for them. Because you are not supposed to shift the cashier room into the remote area where it is not accessible for the account holders and others. So now almost all of them rushing to the build remote and work strategies what now the IT and the software companies followed. Next, the focus on employee productivity and engagement has shifted to immediate responses and diagnosis. Next one, the lack of agility. Agility in the sense, one of the major reasons why the HR teams are struggling, are fighting, are facing troubles are due to the lack of agility. Many HR teams are not designed for this, and this affecting the HR professional big time. In this COVID-19 crisis, it is critical to respond fast and also move quickly. But there are many approvals to take before taking decision, otherwise telling red tapeism. And another thing, the employee communication. Communication is another major challenge that is on the priority list. It itself is a critical aspect that needs to be taken into account, and also the person who are working remotely. Without the right communication channels, it becomes very difficult to manage a workforce, because even today's programs or any other programs, continuous raining or in the remote areas, signaling problems or mismatching several powers and others, so it troubles. Next, the COVID-19 crisis had the HR professional on toes and kept them looking for the right remote working tools that suit their culture. What actually we are using, the education institution, we are using the Zoom or other the tool. Though the tools like Zoom or Slack are commonly used to meet the needs of the workforce, it certainly is not enough to get everything on the same page. This is one of the important communication challenge faced by the today setup. But more or less, the HR, the team are doing their best by sharing updates regarding measures adopted by the organization, updates from the business leaders via email or video, links to valuable external information sources, ongoing communication on HR policies developed or formulated then and there, and through health talks and training sessions organized by the HR with the help of the public health institutions. And another important point we discussed here, the challenges in the sense uncertainty. It can paralyze anyone. The daunting feelings of not knowing what the future holds or what measures to take and sustain organizational operations is a huge challenge. Whether may retain the position, may got the allowances what I received earlier, this type of the problem. Even the government officials also face some sort of problem in connection with that is reducing the dearness allowances, and also 50% of the salary cut for the employees who are working in Telangana state and even the Kerala state. So this type of problem is also gives some sort of troubles to the workers against uncertainty. And the employees are more affected mentally, not knowing, and other thing what the future holds for them. To respond to the crisis and develop effective measures and suitable course of actions for all who are in the trouble. And another thing, employee engagement. Employee engagement in the sense, the ultimate company goal is the productivity of its employee. See, whatever the things, the company's aim is to get only to increase the profit. The purpose of existence of business organization in the business world only to raise a profit, because the business of business is business. So they are very much interested in increasing their profit. It becomes a challenging, the employee engagement is challenging to keep the employees engaged when they are working remotely, and that too in a crisis. The internal communications compromised and keeping everyone on the same page, same track is very or becomes very tough. Okay, and another thing, we discussed a case study before end. The Bank of Baroda, the adopted certain changes and introduced in the workplace as lockdown comes to an end. The post-lockdown, the word, it is not acceptable. When the word has had its real meaning, we don't know. We just discussing about during the lockdown. During the lockdown, not post-lockdown, because it is uncertain. See, what type of the changes adopted in the sense, the bank has put in a place a post-lockdown policy for the workplace. It is applicable to all organizations, industrial organization, or even the bank and others. I enumerate given a few points: maintenance of strict social distancing norm, spacing of workstations, and regular use of sanitizer, hand wash stations, and etc. etc. And mandating all meetings, mode even among the officials or participants in the same office, disallowing the congestion in common places like canteens and etc. Movement between floors restricted, and all the employees to mandatorily wear mask, entry protocols to be observed like disinfecting footwear before entering, thermal scanning, and non-use of any biometric attendance and devices, cashier and cash holder, or even some other person who is having the direct contact through any organs or any instrument, they are forced to use the glouses, and housekeeping and the security staff given additional protective equipment, mask like PPE, the entry of customer in branches or in the organization in organized way that limited number are there inside in the branch or any offices, by formulating what type of the method that is formulated in the Toastmark shop by means of marking, and in such a way they are keeping 6 feet distances. So at the very important point we need to follow in the sense, in any case the employee is infected, proper protocol has to be formulated. Proper protocol has to be formulated, that is quarantine and other informed to the higher authorities, and to transporting to the medical hospitals, and for testing and other procedures to be followed. Okay. Next, what are some of the trends that will become the norm in the post-COVID workplace in the coming 6 months? That is, I am not sure about whether we will get free up to December, because until otherwise the vaccines are there, until otherwise the extension or that is the people responses and cooperations be ensured, the question of reducing the infection is under trouble. the work from home regime through technology solutions, apps, paperless working, stoppage of all physical meetings, etc., have been introduced in the bank and other institutions, which are also helping to enhance employee productivity. And also, we should follow certain the rules along with when you proceed to your office from the home, along with your the daily wearable items, shirts, bunions, shoes and socks, and also wear the mask. The mask is very much essential because it protects you against the infection, as quoted earlier, how the viral particles help for the spreading the infections. And also, there is no other go except using the SMS. Many thanks for your nice hearing. And also, I just covered a little bit about the leader. Leader in the sense, which includes the student leader and the staff leader, teacher leader, and the homemaker, breadwinner of the family, etc. It's applicable to all. But leader in the sense, I am taking the general sense, not in the organization sense. And what are the things that discussed during the last 40 or 50 minutes? Actually, 50 minutes. Yes, 50 minutes. I rightly conclude. Thank you, Mr. Dr. Ashok sir. Ashok sir.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ramani sir, for giving an exemplary speech on the topic Leaders, Trendsetters, or Change Agents. Your speech gave us the latest insights on leadership in the current pandemic conditions, sir. Now, I invite our second speaker, Dr. Nithya Ramachandran. She is a faculty in the Department of Management Studies, Ibrav College of Technology, Sultanate Oman. She will be speaking on the topic COVID-19 and women's leadership, a response to build back better. So I invite Dr. Nithya ma'am to take over the session.
Very good afternoon to one and all present here.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Sir, I need to present my screen.
Ramani sir, you can take off your PowerPoint slide, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Now it is okay?
Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
sir. Now it's okay, sir.
All right.
I think you're able to see, sir, Ashok, sir.
Yes, ma'am. We all can see you, ma'am. Ramani sir, can you please mute your mic, sir? Dr. Ramani sir, I request you to mute your mic, sir. Yeah. Thank you so much.
A very good afternoon to one and all present here. I would like to congratulate the entire organizing team for organizing such an event in a very short time. And special thanks to Dr. Ramani sir for introducing me to such a wonderful team of faculty from the so today I'm going to just touch upon what is the role of leaders as a women leader in responding towards COVID-19. So many months together now, almost 7 months, we are hearing every day what is happening, and most of the time we are fed up with the news. So many infections in a day, so many deaths, so much of crisis, economic downfall, so many things we are listening. But the role of women in a higher leadership aspect, that is what I wanted to touch upon. And usually so many webinars are coming up, some conferences are virtual conferences are coming, which is focused on digital platform or something based on COVID, what is post-pandemic education segments, things like that. But the department of CFL has actually taken a different turn to look into what is leadership, what has to be done a person to become a leader, or what are the other aspects to become a leader. So I actually appreciate the department to take up such an effort to bring in a new topic to the session. So moving on, first, I need to introduce the institution I am associated with. Here in Oman, the colleges of technology are run by the Ministry of Power, and we have 7 colleges in the country which is under the ministry, and each region, meaning each state in the country, has a college, and it is named at the name of the place. So the place here is called IBRA and named as IBRA College of Technology. I am being associated with the college for almost 8 years now. This particular institution has given so much of freedom, economic benefit, technological expertise, training all the stakeholders in the needed technology training that is required for the time for teaching and learning, major freedom to do our research work. So I am, with a note of gratitude to the institution, I will continue with my presentation. So the major 4 topics what are to be discussed today are effects of COVID on politics. Actually, the role of women in politics is at lesser percentages, but what is their role towards the politics and the like the percentage of decrease in the number of infections where the women leadership is being headed. Women are leading the way, so we will have a list of countries where our women leadership and the effect of COVID we will see, and pathways to strengthen women leadership. This is an outcome of a report or a study report that was released. And finally, leadership qualities, that is the successful women leaders and what were the qualities they could follow. So in between, dear participants, I have a few questions. So it will be better that if you are able to answer through the chat box also. So what is your opinion towards female leadership? So I will give you options. 1, if you press 1, it will be disagree. If you press 2, it will be neutral. And if you press 3, it will be agree. I will give you just 1 minute time so I can see your response. Yes, I'm getting so many responses. 1 is disagree, 2 is neutral, and 3 is agree. Good number of numbers are giving 3. Very grateful. Okay, so many number 3s. Yes. Okay, which means I can take it into consideration that male or female doesn't have any relationship towards a leader, whether it is a male or female leadership. It is a kind of leadership sense that is being transferred to an employee. So in that way, I thank all of you for answering. So I'm happy that most of you have agreed to accept female leadership. So moving to the next one, I think every now and then we people teaching business and management studies students, we are much aware about what is happening in and around the company format or the structure. And recently, on 22nd of May this year, there was a release, that is 66th edition of Fortune 500 companies that was released. I think most of us would have read this through. The 500 that made the year's list represent 2/3 of the US economy with 14.2 trillion in revenue. Okay, I have a question for you here also. Number of female CEOs listed in Fortune 500 companies in US. Just give your guess numbers. You can give your guess number of female CEOs. Okay, one person has given 70, 120. Okay, 50, somewhere. Okay, very good, 150. Okay, I'll stop with this. When it comes to an Indian perspective, maybe I can give you some more time. So only one person was somewhere near the total number of US based companies which has a female CEO for so many number of years, and in 2020 it is only 37 number of female CEOs. Okay, we are expecting 20% to 20, so many numbers. Okay, let me go for the next one. The same Fortune 500 of India. This also was released on 22nd of May. Now go for your guesses number. Please guess your number of female CEOs in India. 17 to 20, great. 10, 20, somewhere near. 28%. Okay. 10, 18. Okay. 18, 15. Okay, I'll just close the board. So the number of female headed CEOs listed in Fortune 500 companies in India are just 29, which is only 6% of the total number of companies, and few notable companies again here: Bank of America, Biocon, HDFC, Thermax. I could not bring all here, so I listed with few. Okay, so only 6% of women leaders who have executive power in companies are listed in Fortune 500 companies. So those people who have given number 3 in the first question, we should see that henceforth we should give more power to the female segments also. Now moving to the next one, why there are only few women leaders? There should be a reason for every action. There should be a reason. So why does only male community has the power in not only in company, even in other political aspects or wherever we go, other than family? I agree with that. But in other cases, the percentages are always lesser number. We will see it one by one. But every now and then, there are many researches which are being conducted to study why there are very few women leaders. And in the month of January, there was a report released by World Economic Forum on 5th January 2020, a report released by World Economic Forum based on the study what they have conducted in the year 2019 to study why there is lesser number of female leaders in the entire globe. It doesn't specifically belong to any country. So as per the study, it will take a minimum of 108 years to close the overall gender gap. So, and also 202 years to bring parity in the workplace. So until now, we have so much of disparity in the workplace. So it will take a minimum of 200 years to bring equality in the workplace. When we see the entire report, and in Indian perspective, India has one of the lowest female labor force participation rates in the world, where majority of the women work in informal sector. So even though most of the women are working in India, the percentage of formal and informal sectors are totally different. Almost more percentages of female workers are in the informal sector. So the result shows that female could not have a better balance between the work and their family. That is what the reason they have given. The reason why they could not increase or the number of women leaders are not coming up. This leadership is not political leadership study. It is on general basis. Either it will be for an organization, for an institution, or even into politics. It is general leadership study where the report is being released. So the major challenge what the female segment is carrying is the work-life balance, which they could not balance their personal and the official sectors. Now, a question again, how many number of countries are there in the world? Because nowadays only we are hearing everyday news about 200 countries are infected with COVID, or as many number of countries which are infected with COVID. Any guesses? Actual number of countries in the world? Dear participants, please make your guess number of countries in the world. Very good, 193. 195, 195. Okay. 181. Good. Almost nearby numbers are coming. Okay. Let me continue. Okay. Number of countries in the world. Actually, there are 249 countries and territories, but the UN recognized number of countries are only 193. So for actual number of countries, we need to represent it as only 193 because those 193 are the countries which are UN recognized. But when we compare the remaining number of territories and overall countries in the world, the actual number is 249. Okay, very good. Now we should be able to answer the next question. Number of countries led by female leaders. You need not go for any big numbers. Please do select lesser number, 10, 25, 8, 15, somewhere near, okay, 35, 22, 29, okay. Thank you all for your participation. The number of female leadership countries are just 19. Only 19 countries in the world has female as their elected leaders. And these are the highlighted countries are 19 countries where female leaders are there, either president, prime minister, or whatever is the position they have according to their country. So out of 193 UN recognized countries, only 19 countries are headed, ruled under the leadership of a female. Okay, moving to what is today's actual topic. So COVID-19 and women's leadership. So starting from the month of January, we are listening to so many information received from different parts of the globe, that what each country is deciding, what are the actions that the government is taking to have a control over the spread of the virus. In that case, there was a comparison between the female-led countries and the countries which have a male leader. So in that case, we will see one by one what was the result of the study. So COVID-19 is not only affecting education or different sectors, it is actually affecting political sector also. The government is not able to take up any new policies, new decisions. So sudden aspects cannot be decided immediately. So coming to the point, the year 2020 is marked as the 20th anniversary of Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action. Actually, this was formed in the year 1995. Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action is a visionary global agenda for achieving women's equal participation in all areas of life. So to give women equal participation in all areas of life, in the year 1995, this declaration was formed. And this year it marks 25th year. So women are entering politics in greater numbers than ever before, and their influence over high-level decision-making has been growing. So even though we see only lesser percentage of women are in politics, but their role in politics or in the decision-making level has been increased when we compare to the previous years. So women's full and equal participation has also been recognized as essential for achieving substantial development goals. So UNSD has goals of bringing in equality and women empowerment, all that. So in that place, they are able to survive with achieving at least a certain amount of percentages increase that is being shown every year. So women bring different experiences and perspectives, talents and skills to the table, contribute to better informed decisions, policies and laws that work for both women and men in an increasing format. So over the past quarter century, women's influence in many areas of public life has actually increased, that nobody can deny. So women organization and feminist activities have been leading many of the protests for civic and political rights held across the globe in the year 2019-20. So now throughout the world, women remain significantly underrepresented in many aspects of decision making. So actually, here we are going to see world leaders and how they are able to tackle the COVID-19 issue. So when we see the percentage of women in politics, 3/4 of the world parliament seats held by men. That means 70% of the political power is with men, and the balance is only with the female politicians. So throughout the world, women remain significantly underrepresented. With widespread health crisis, the context for women participation and leadership in public life is reducing further because they are into so much of and again coming out to expose themselves into politics is also becoming a huge pressure on them. Now, across the world, women are on the front line of the COVID-19 responses as heads of state and the government. Healthcare workers, carers at home, and community leaders, mobilizers, etc. So the role of women doesn't fix to any one particular sector. They're spread up from top to the bottom. So they are working as head of state. Most of the healthcare sector workers are female. So women are confronting to domestic violence, care duty, unemployment, and poverty. These impact on the existing socio-economic inequalities and requires the need for gender responsive policies. This is actually the most effectively needed policy that is to be brought out. Some of powerful examples of how women leadership and participation can bring more effective, inclusive, and fair policies, plans, and budgets to address the pandemic. So, most of the women leadership countries have brought new policies. They have formed a strategy of how to meet people, how they can communicate information to the general public so as to reduce the infection. So for women to build back better, what the government or what is needed for them to come back to a normal or to have increased participation in the community, recognize what women leaders are doing. This is so sad to say that most of the time women, not only leaders, even a person who is not a leader but a normal employee is also not recognized or not equally treated in all places. It is treated where certain areas where the women have rights to speak or to ask the higher official, but that is not the case in all segments of job. Ensure balanced representation in decision making and funding for gender responsive interventions. So when we are giving freedom, or if women leaders are recognized, there might be chances for good policies, good response towards their approach to the public, which may have chances for reduction of any of the crises which we are experiencing now, or maybe we will get it in the future. One happy or the note that which I want to share here is today there was a press release by World Economic Forum that an all-women team from Afghanistan has created a low-cost ventilator. There was a team which was formed with 4 students, some college students, and maybe their professor, like that. So four-member women team have created a low-cost ventilator, and they have been working on it for the past 4 months. But the poor part is the government has not recognized their work, but they are able to supply this to their local healthcare units, which they were able to use it during the current pandemic period. So I would like to list few countries where women are in the role either as head of the country or in other places which they are supporting for the relief of this pandemic work. So women are leading the way. Countries like Denmark, Ethiopia, Finland, Germany, New Zealand, Iceland, Slovakia, all these countries are 100% ruled by women leaders, recognized for the rapidity of the response they are leading, which has not only included measures to flatten the curve, such as confinement measures, social distancing, and widespread testing. So their strategy was to take the method in which the crisis can be reduced. So in countries like Canada, Ethiopia, India, and Madagascar, women medical and health experts are increasingly found in leadership positions and taking the lead in daily press briefings and public service announcements. Especially in India, the state of Kerala has a wonderful uh, health secretary, and she is actually one of the speaker in UN WHO Council also, and we are all proud of her. But not all the countries or all the states are recognizing a female head, at least at the lower level. In countries like Spain and Gambia, women mayors have been highly visible in responding to the pandemic and are sharing their experiences in online forums. Especially in these countries, the list of women mayors were released where they were able to give videos in their own language, where they were able to take it even to the lower level segment of the people. It was not only in English language, even their own national language, which was released, and videos were played in every part of the country, so that we're able to inform them how to take care during the COVID period. Now, this is a small video which was released to name a few women leaders who have put forward them during the period of COVID-19, and they have achieved success too. So all these female leaders have followed a different leadership style, which was not actually conceptual understanding or the management point of view of what and how a leader should be. They have created such styles based on the current requirement of the country or how they can approach the people. The best of the three styles where they were more collective than individual. So the way in which a press release was made by the New Zealand Prime Minister, and you compare with our own state, it is not going to be so political in the sense, but there is a difference between the way in which the information is passed on to the general public. So they were more collective, but they were focusing on individuals. They were more collaborative than competitive, like not showing out even if the opposition party is going wrong or nothing like that was never discussed during their view or during their press meet anytime. More coaching than commanding. Actually, there is a video on the role of German Prime Minister also. He has studied scientifically what is COVID-19 through her team of members. She has around 8 members with her, and she has heard from her what is the scientific reason and how is this virus spreading and what can be done medically to control this. So she has first, because she is not from a medical background, so she has first understood that, and the way in which she has taken to the public was really appreciable. So it is noteworthy that in 2019, prior to pandemic, nearly half of the world's population, that is 47%, believed that men are better political leaders. Even today, there is a belief that men are strong and they are very good political leaders. Today, in COVID-19, the number of deaths, policies, and the countries led by women are disproving the belief. So the end of 2019, the survey showed that 47% believed that male are the good leaders because they were bold enough to face the situation. But after this pandemic, and the recent study shows that women are far better in framing policies. They are far better in taking this initiative to the lower level to make people understand why there is such a difficulty and what they should do to solve the issue. So actually, lack of women representation. Only a quarter of members of national parliaments worldwide are female. That is just 24.9% in the total world population. Only 36.3% of elected officials in local deliberative bodies. As of 1st January 2020, only 21.3% of ministers are women. Only 30 cabinets worldwide make up at least 40% of ministers. So the number of female participation in politics is lesser, but when we compare to the previous years, maybe the current trend is increasing. This will not be the same in the post-pandemic period. Women underrepresentation as health ministers is especially concerning. This is a notable view where 70% of the healthcare sector are female. The number of countries which has health minister, the union health minister or the state health minister being a female, the number of countries are very less. Only 24.7% of world's health ministers are women. But you see the level of work. A minister is a male, but why come 70% of the lower level healthcare workers are female? So there shows that inequality in the level. Why should not a female be a health minister? So she can better handle the percentage of health workers who are almost 70% in the world. So they hold the male health ministers are more percentages, and only 24.7% of world's health ministers are women, and they hold just 25% of senior roles in health institutions. So this also is underrepresentation of women into politics, but even into other official roles, the roles given by the government department, there also women are only in lesser percentages, if not in other sectors. At least in health sector, the governments can consider that taking women as the head of the sector can be considered. Now, pathways to strengthen women leadership and participation in COVID-19 response and recovery. So this is a different point of view where what should be done to recover from COVID-19 and the encouraging women leadership and their participation in politics or in whatever form during the post-COVID period. So which is being segmented into 4 categories. Ensure that decision-making bodies are balanced. This is the first and the foremost way in which women leadership can be encouraged. Government at all levels should strive gender balance in all institutions responsible for COVID, not only health department, but even in other sectors, wherever possible, they can bring gender balance. Women should be involved in crisis management, health commission, and other COVID-19 related teams. So here, recognize and remove barriers to women political participation. Even though they are recognized in certain areas, there are as many barriers as possible in all fields, especially when it comes to a female candidate. So in that case, political part is not out of focus. They are most into trouble. So pre-existing inequalities and social should be reconsidered when developing new modes of participation. Supposing if the government is going to frame a policy to bring in as many number of female politicians, then they have to do that the policy that is being framed are rightly done to accept more participation of women into politics. The third pathway is improve access to public information for women and their organizations. Government units can organize small group meetings with social distancing to hear the voice of women and their needs, particularly in rural areas. Actually, this is a major drawback. We always focus on urban, semi-urban areas, and we don't look into what actually happens at the very lower level where most of the families are being affected. And here we should make a mention that not only the entire family is being affected, so the government should take some steps to see and hear from the lower level people so that they can at least have an idea or work on some methods in which they can provide recovery to the people. The pathway is include and support women and women's organization in COVID-19 response decision making. So the government should facilitate the engagement of all institutions responsible for COVID-19 response and local level with women activists and organizations. So even though there are many women organizations are there, not all of them are involved in getting work done during or especially for this COVID-19 issues, they are being rejected, or some cases are not being accepted even at the local level. So those things can be avoided to give them a way in which they can also prove that their organization is working for the people, or at least for the upliftment of the female segment. So these are the 6 leadership qualities which were followed by the successful women leaders, that is the leaders who are heading the countries which were able to control COVID-19 positively. So the heads of those countries are following these 6 leadership qualities. The first one is deliberateness. Female political leaders seem to be thoughtful, intentional, and deliberate about how they lead. So they have a clear picture on what they are going to do, how they are going to address the people before they start talking to them. Second one, humility. Leaders necessarily don't come from scientific background. Strategic leaders keep subject area experts and listen to them. This is what example I told you about the German president. She has done a wonderful job in hearing what is COVID. She has a complete knowledge like a healthcare segment employee, and she was able to address it in her own language to the public. And anything from a top level leader is easily accepted by a public. This is the case in India also. If a higher political leader is informing us some positive note, 100% all of us are ready to accept that. So the same case is prevailing around the globe. The third one is inclusiveness. In times of stress, it is habitual to go for a biased mode of decision making, but solving complex problems requires considering different views so that leaders can make decisions that have positive impacts. Normally, people with so much of stress heading the entire nation is not so easy without a family support. But all these habits have created pressure on them, but they were able to solve bigger or the complex problems into and find out simple solutions to solve the problems. Fourth one is decisiveness. Listening diverse voices advised and then taking diverse actions. So like we see like so many political parties are giving comments on the present workers, or they are giving suggestions on what can be done. So whether good or bad, a good leader should actually spend time to listen to what the team is telling, not only their own team, but the entire community, and then see where can be accepted or what changes are to be made. The most important one is communicativeness, where we are very much lagging behind. This is my personal opinion of my own state of Tamil Nadu. Exhibiting traits of good communication while addressing people during the crisis. So a best example, I would say, so many days, the health minister, chief minister himself, they were repeatedly telling that there is no like public spread has not yet started in the country, in the state, or so many states like that. But actually it has started months before, and even we people could recognize, and why not that kind of information didn't come from a higher official. So communication process should be more transparent, and it should be something which people themselves should not recognize. Any better idea, whether it is on the negative side or on the positive side, should come from a leader. That is what the people are also looking for. They need true and transparent communication system from years. The last and the very important aspect towards a female leader is empathy. Study shows that crisis situation, empathetic, compassionate leaders perform better and inspire more loyalty, engagement, and productivity. That has no doubt all the countries whom we saw in the video also, they were very empathetic. They were able to study the current situation. They were able to disclose transparently what is the condition of the country and what are the strict rules which the government is going to deploy and what the citizens have to do, which will help them to come out of the difficulty. So it is not a kind of force, it is a kind of affection that is being shown the general public. So I am very much proud that so many women leaders were able to succeed with their own policies and preparedness to accept the crisis, and they were able to come out with all success. So they were even big countries like Germany and all, they were able to succeed with so much of elderly population in the country. They were able to succeed due to the new strategies which the leaders have adopted. In that way, being a female, I am also happy to see those highly qualified, I should not say educationally qualified, but highly dignified leaders who are actually working for the people. Thank you, one and all. Over to Ashok, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. So I thank our second speaker, Dr. Nithya Ramachandran, for her excellent speech regarding women's leadership in current trends. So I thank both the speakers for sharing their ideas by allocating the golden time. Now the session is open for questions. I request the participants to ask their questions or doubts one by one. So session is over to questions. Participants, if you have any questions, you can ask the resource persons. Both the speakers are available for you currently. I request the participants to ask their questions to the resource persons. Both of them are available for you to clear your doubts, to answer your questions.
There is no questions from the participant. Probably you can say, go to vote of thanks, Dr. Ashok.
Okay, sir. Sure, sir. So, dear participants, before going for vote of thanks, I will share the feedback link in the chat box. So, I request all the participants to use the link, click the link, and fill up the feedback form. Those participants who fills the feedback form will be getting the certificates. So, let me first paste the link for feedback form in the chat box. So, dear participants, I have pasted the feedback form link in the chat box.